What's up, everyone? Steve, where are you? Ugh, Steve disappeared. You know, Steve is such an amazing guy that he is always doing something out and about in the community. And so working with Steve, and this is part of our healthy relationship, is that I know him. I know how he works. And so I know that sometimes he can't always make it to these amazing lives that we have for all of you. So I am going to be your co-host or your actual full host for today. So I'm excited to be here with all of you. We have an amazing guest that is on with us today, Marie. But stick around. We're live here right now at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here in the Facebook page. We also go live on Mondays at 6 p.m. on cable. So you'll be seeing that also as a replay on Monday. What I'd like to do right now is start off and tee off this whole thing with a little video from Family Feud.
All right, guys, we got the top 7 answers on the board. We ask 100 women, when you talk to people about your guy, name something you exaggerate. Right.
His muscles.
His muscles. Jackie?
His sex.
His sex. Oh, okay.
We're gonna play. Let's go, Rodney.
We're gonna play. Claire, talk to 100 women. When you talk to people about your guy, name something you exaggerate.
How much money he makes, Steve?
How much money he makes. Kristen, we talk to 100 women. When you talk about your guy, something you exaggerate.
How he treats me.
How he treats me. Now, ladies, let me say something about the way we treat you. We're doing the best we can, and oftentimes we get it right. Sometimes we do get it wrong. On the moments that we get it wrong, it doesn't mean that we weren't trying to get it right. We just got it wrong. So, when you're talking to your friends, just talk about the times we got it right. You ain't got to bring up when we got it wrong. We know we got it wrong, but you get it wrong too. Surprise! Ted, my man. Ted, we talk to 100 women. When you talk to people about your guy, name something you exaggerate.
How romantic he is.
How romantic he is. How romantic he is. All right, Miss Julie, we talk to 100 women. When you talk to people about your guy, name something you exaggerate.
I exaggerate the vehicle he drives.
The vehicle he drives. Rod, we got 2 strikes. We got to be careful now. The Brown family can steal. All right, Rod, we talk to 100 women. When you talk to people about your guy, name something you exaggerate.
How good of a father he is.
How good of a father he is. All right, family, here we go. We talk to 100 women. When you talk to people about your guy, name something you exaggerate.
We exaggerate about his age, how old he is.
My man 70. My man 80. My man 83. Exaggerate about his age. Number 7. Number 6. 5. 4. Your ass on YouTube. Your whole damn family on YouTube. Your whole damn.
So what did y'all think of that? When I was watching that, I was just thinking about how interesting it was that the ladies are the ones who got the first 2 pretty quickly, pretty easily. And number 2, obviously, was how kind their partner was. And of course, this is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. I'm your host, Stephanie McPhail. Steve is not here with us today. but it's something that I've seen a lot. I remember that for me, when I was in toxic relationships, I was pretending to be one way in public, and then I would go home to things being really uncomfortable. So I remember all too well what it felt like to have to pretend that I was in this healthy relationship. And I think for a lot of it, for me, it was about wanting to put on a face, wanting no one to be worried about me, not wanting to be disrespectful to my partner, learning and hearing that relationships were hard. They were hard work, and you were an equal part of the issues if there were issues. So hearing all of those things and experiencing relationships that I had growing up, all of those things made me want to hide what was really going on. And so it's really important for us to realize that we don't want to hide what's been happening, and that we can get help and things can change for us. So on that note, I want to introduce to all of you our special guest, Marie Adele. I'm going to just read her background because I think you guys are all going to be super impressed. We're really excited to have her on today. Marie Adele is a human design consultant. She has helped hundreds of children, families, and individuals by inspiring them to be their true, authentic selves in order to create their definition of abundance without continuing to suffer. Her inspirational story and background serve as a platform for others to know they are not alone. She has overcome abuse, trauma, and unthinkable events, yet standing tall and helping others to bring in more peace and self-love, even as she continues to cultivate her own. So thank you so much, Adele. Let's bring her on. What's up, Marie? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really great. Thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'd love to, before I want to jump in and ask you questions, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of viewers that are excited to ask some questions of you as well. But my first question is, what is it that you do, and what got you interested in the work that you do?
Okay, so I started out in teaching, actually. That was my life for over 20 years. And so even in teaching, I didn't view myself as a teacher. I viewed myself more as a mentor, and helping my students to be able to answer their own questions, right? And asking questions rather than giving answers. And so it was a natural segue into the coaching world online. And I had dabbled in it a little bit before COVID hit, and then, when COVID hit, right, make lemonade out of lemons, right? So that's where I ended up. And I, had a whole bunch of tools in my belt, and I thought that I had only gathered them in my lifetime for me, right? So I lived overseas for almost a decade, and did a lot of, I lived in Indonesia, so did a lot of interesting workshops, Ayurvedic and breath work and yoga and all different sorts of things when I was over there in Bali. And then I moved to Ethiopia, and I studied even more, kind of different ways to improve myself. Thought it was just for me. And then started, noticing this online coaching world, and decided to jump in both feet, right? And haven't looked back since. I actually recently left my teaching career at the beginning of the year. It wasn't exactly smooth, and at the same time, we get to go with it, right? So, and human design, adding in human design as a tool that I utilize with my clients. I am a human design consultant, and being able to just understand yourself even more deeply, being able to use human design to help my clients understand themselves more deeply, and also my background in neuroscience and in body work from working in special education. So,
as you're talking, I'm having so many things come up of questions that I want to ask. It's really so interesting how all of the experience that we have brought us to this point, but it really is, like you said, it's not just for us, it's for the people that we come into contact with. And I love, as a teacher myself, I taught for 18 years total, and I'm now a full-time coach as well. It's interesting how all that brings us here, and how there's such an overlap between loving watching your students in like whatever age group you're in, no matter if they're 6th grade or 65, it doesn't matter, that we still love to see the results and see the excitement that our students get when they have those aha moments.
Yeah, I started out in early childhood, and so that was where I got all of my training in brain development and psychology and neuroscience. And yeah, I have 4 degrees in teaching, so I mean, it's a lot of education. And some people might be like, well, you did all of that education. Why don't you just stay in your career that you're in? And I wanted to leave on a high note, and I didn't necessarily plan to leave when I did, and at the same time I kind of listened to the universe on that one. So and it worked out like as things tend to do. And so here I am, and just very, very grateful to be able to work with people right now, especially because I think with the pandemic hitting, something that people just clearly didn't anticipate. And you either turned around, did something with it if you were able to, and or it knocked you on your butt. And some people are still there, they're still in that place. And also too, being home 24/7 with people that you typically are not. Talk about relationship straining. So you get to figure out a lot about the people that you're with during a time like this, for sure.
Now, I know in here it says that you had a background in trauma. How did that influence? I mean, because you have multiple degrees, you've obviously been doing some self-work with healing and things like that. How did trauma affect your need and want to learn more about, all the work that you've done so far?
Yeah, so my childhood, right? Like so many people, my childhood. And there was a lot that happened during that time. And, when you speak to your family about it, they don't necessarily have quite the same view, right? Because they had it worse than you did. And so as long as they're not doing the same thing to you that happened to them, they don't view it maybe as bad, right? And there becomes that vicious pattern, that minimalization of things that happen. And so the facts are there was physical and mental, abuse in the home. And my feelings, who I was I felt was not taken into consideration. And so getting into my early 20s in relationships, not knowing myself, and jumping into a marriage right away and trying to find myself through the eyes of the other person, because that always works out really well. And just slowly coming into myself, starting with therapy, and just starting that inner work, which is so difficult sometimes because you're in it. And so it's difficult to see that pattern. It's difficult to see exactly what's happening because you're in it. You're looking at the trees and you're unable to see the forest. And, that's where I was. And I would have people say things to me every once in a while, but I just kind of let them roll off. And things like, oh, you're so much happier. Your husband's on a trip, and here you are at this party, and like we don't see you do that thing usually, and like you're so happy right now. Just where and I got offended when people would say things like that. Like hindsight 2020, you realize where you were at that point in time. And at the beginning you said about how the exaggeration of the relationship and how they treat you. And I never shared anything that happened in our personal relationship outside of it. Was nobody's business. And it wasn't the case, with my significant other. Like he did share. And so people got one view and not the other one. And so like, to me, that is not necessarily a bad thing. What it is it helps me to be very cognizant that there are 2 sides to every story.
And I love what you said about, your upbringing, your parents, because like, for me, and I'm sure a lot of us, I can empathize with my parents. I know that they did the best they could. They can only parent from the place of healing that they're coming from. So I give them complete credit for that. Is it all the things I would have liked to pick out? Heck no. If I were going to choose some things that I would have liked from my parents, there would have been a whole different list. However, I also know that like you said, my feelings are valid. My experiences because of that experience growing up are valid. And I'm also who I am, not despite of, but because of those experiences that I had as a child. So, there's kind of like that pro and con where there's things I wish were different, but they weren't. And I am me because of those things. And so like we get to do it's one of those blessing in disguises where you're doing all these great, wonderful things because you realized how that affected you when you were younger.
Yeah, and it's so true. Like, you think of Dora and her backpack. We're only able to pull out the tools that we actually have in our backpack.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we only have a couple, that's the tools that we use, and we use them over and over again until we decide to use the map and go out and search for more tools, right? So, being able to see what happened and being able to be in a space where I could create space within me to understand why those things happen for me, as you're saying, and be able to grow from that and to continually grow from that, because things still come up. My understanding around it still hinders me in one way and serves me in another. And, being able to look at that quite candidly, and because I can only change me, I'm not able to change that other person. And so by changing my perspective, my noticing, my awareness around it, I'm able to create a new vision for myself and for others.
I love that. And as a parent, there's things where it's like, healing isn't linear. So there's times where I'm like, got this. And then the kids will do something and, it pokes at something and I automatically react in a way that my parents might have reacted. I didn't want to do that. And then it's kind of like, oh, guess there's something else to work on. So I think I agree. There's constantly, there's reminders if we allow them to help us continue to grow. So let's dive in. I mean, you talk about, human design. I'm not sure I ever heard of that before we spoke. So what is human design before you even tell us anything else?
Yeah, so human design, it's a personality assessment tool, right? It's just like if you've ever done the DISC assessment or Myers-Briggs or Enneagram, any of those. And only it's very, very precise. It's specific only to that person. When you pull up your results, it's only to you. It's very, there's not another person that has the same chart that comes up. And for me, the way that I experience it is it's a tool to help you to get back into your body, to help you to truly understand where you are coming from your decision-making process, why sometimes that we get stuck in our heads. And when we first receive information into our bodies, that's where it comes, right? It comes through our skin. It's our largest sense organ. We sense the air. We sense the vibration of the sound. The feel of the wind on us. And then that goes into our skin, goes into our nerves, goes up into our brain, hits those synapses and dendrites, forms a neuron, and then forms clusters around that, depending how many times we engage in that thing. And our brain is this amazing computer that then takes and scaffolds all of our experiences and, puts it together and makes sense of it the best way that it possibly can. However, in the cases of trauma, that stays in our body because that's where it comes in first. And no matter how much you try to change your brain, people are like, just think positively, just change your point of view, just, all those justs, right? And the fact is that it starts in. And so in order to be able to move through it in a more smooth kind of quantum process, we need to be able to tap into our bodies and release that from our bodies in order to help our brains to do the work work that they need to be able to do. And that's what human design does. It helps us to get back into our body, to listen to our bodies, and to really pay attention. If you have ever made a choice, you have this feeling in your gut, you're like, oh, I should do this. And then you logically think about it and choose something different. And then afterward, you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? It's the opposite of what I felt like doing, but my brain talked me out of it. And then it ended up being the wrong choice. How many times have we done that? So many times, right? And our bodies, they know. And when we're able to have that awareness and tap into our bodies, then we are able to make those choices that are better for us.
I think that, well, and by the way, this is Stephanie McPhail. This is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. This is Maria Dell. She is our guest talking to us about human design. And, one of the things that I think is interesting is that a lot of our clients, I will see what happens with them too is they're trying to learn how to reconnect to their gut. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think for a lot of people, they misread the connections that they're getting, where instead of it's trauma telling them what to do instead of what their actual instinct is telling them to do. Is that what do you think on that?
Yeah, it's we're trying to utilize this to bypass this when this wins every time. We're not able to, if it were just as easy as just doing it, just telling yourself I'm going to do this, and then as easy as doing it, we would all do it, right? But the fact is that our bodies are trying to keep us safe. And by not allowing us to do the thing that we think we want to do, it's keeping us safe. Only it might be a pattern that's not serving us. There might be a story that's inside of our body around something that happened to us when we were a kid, and it's preventing us from moving forward in our life, in our relationships, in our businesses, in our careers, in the way that we communicate with ourselves. So being able to tap into those multiple layers, digging down, that excavation process. And as the laws of the universe say, as soon as we're able to dig that out by the roots and really pull it out, then we can grow something new, something different, something that we feel like serves us better.
I love that. So how does human design affect our relationships, either the ones we choose or maybe past ones that we have chosen, in the past? How does that affect them?
Yeah, and here's kind of where I have an unpopular opinion, right? So I firmly believe that we are the ones responsible for everything that happens to us, right? I believe that we choose how we come into this world. We choose the situations that we come into, and we get to assess how our behavior and how our understanding of that situation affects us. And, that kind of bleeds into another thought. And at the same time, being able to know your human design helps you to understand that very catalyst. It helps you to understand you better. And by understanding you better, then you're able to understand other people, because it all begins with that self-communication. Once you're truly able to understand why you operate the way that you operate, then it opens up that mind, that mindset that's around that, and it helps you to see things in a different way. I have a saying, it says, where the mind goes, that's what grows. Mm-hmm. And so if we are looking for opportunities to be kinder, gentler, more understanding of ourselves, we're going to grow that opportunity to be able to do that with other people. And they'll feel that energy coming from us. When you walk into a room, you can palpably feel in there if someone's had an argument, or if there's a party going on, or if, people are in a good mood or a bad mood. You can feel it in the air. It's that energy, that electricity. And it's the same with us. When we create that space within us, that ease, that peace within us, then we're better able to communicate that to other people, and other people will feel that from us. So it helps our relationships by helping us first, putting our mask on first. You know, on the airlines, they say put your mask on first, so that way you can administer to the people around you. It's the same. We get to, and we've been taught for so long that it's selfish to do that. It's not. It's not.
In fact, if we don't do that, we're going to be pretty unhappy. Like, yeah, I actually had this conversation with someone today, is that she actually had adopted her friend's child after her friend passed away, and her friend is severely disabled, or the child is severely disabled. And so she said, I don't have any time. I just have to spend all my time on this child. And I said, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. She said, but I don't want anything to happen to this child. I'm responsible. And I understand all those things. But if you want to be the best parent you possibly can, you can't 24/7 take care of this child all by yourself, not work on you, not have other relationships. I mean, how long are you going to do that for? And this child is 6. There's a whole life ahead of you to still live. So yeah, I think, I think a big disservice that, and I hate to say more women, guys, feel free to disagree, but I think that women, we're really trained that it's almost wrong to take care of ourselves. And I'm completely against that. I agree with you, Marie, like, you got to take care of yourself. But I think we're trained that, oh no, I have to take care of the family. I have to take care of my husband, the house, like my job, all these other things. And then we keep putting ourselves on the back burner until all of a sudden we've lost who we are.
Yeah, it's definitely a conditioning that happens, and conditioning, we can look at it 2 different ways. We can look at it as something that, is a benefit to us, or we can look at it as something that's a detriment to us. And, I think it's a detriment to us when we don't have our eyes open and we're not questioning and thinking about it. Like, we just take it at face value. We see in advertising, we read in books, we see in movies, we see our own mothers sacrificing themselves. I, had my mom say to me at one point, this is a hard lesson for you to learn right now. And at the same time, the woman bears the brunt of the work in the household. And I'm like, nope, that's not going to be me. So like, maybe that's the way that you want to operate and you choose to operate. That is not the way that I am going to choose to operate for me.
Heck yeah. I mean, I just remember, and again, for me, this became a positive thing, but I just remember my mom and dad arguing about, money being spent on groceries. And my mom being like, I just bought groceries for the family. Like, I didn't buy anything big. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't ever want to rely on anyone for money. I want to make sure that I have that money for myself, so I don't have to have this conversation about where money went. So that, that was something. And then for her, she'd buy us all new clothes, and she'd still have the same old things she had been wearing for years. And then, but the thing is, that's kind of followed her throughout her life, where now she's older and she's still like, oh, poor me, that I've given to everybody. Now you all, deserve to pay me back for all of the things that I've sacrificed for you. Like, that's not a terrible way of living too. I don't want to ever do anything that's coming from a place of, I expect you to give me back one day. I want to give from a place of my overflowing cup because I feel good already. I'm going to give you the extra love. And then you don't owe me. I don't, nobody owes me for the things I do nicely. I don't want to live that way. It seems like very energetically draining to be that way.
Yeah. And just making that choice to do differently. Right. And, when I first got out into the world, I said, I don't ever want to have kids. I feel like I'm too messed up. Like, I don't want to make the same mistakes that, that were made with me. And I feel like I'm not responsible enough to be able to have one. And so it took me until 36 to have my child. So at that point in time, I was ready after, decades of teaching and, that kind of a situation where I had a lot of practice being kind, being calm, being, rational, having upsetting things happen and being able to respond to them in a smooth way. And then I trusted myself enough. I needed to build up that trust in order for that to be able to happen. And so, just, really, really looking at at those choices that other people are making, and even myself. If I say something to my daughter, making sure that I am saying it from a place of, is this kind? Is this helpful? And is she going to benefit from it in some way? Right? Is it truthful? Is it truthful? Is it kind? Is it helpful? And not that it always works, right? Heat of the moment, human being here, full disclosure. And at the same time, also to being able to apologize after as well. That's and with the knowledge that I'm trying to do better, and I am showing her that as well, that I'm actively learning how to be better.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. And for those, 38 and 40, those are my, the ages when I had my first and second child, because I didn't want to bring any child into the past relationships that I had because they were a mess. I didn't want to be in them. I would never have wanted a child to be in them. I know a lot of people watching might say, well, I screwed up and I had a child, maybe I wasn't ready, or I was hoping this person was great, or whatever it is. But now they are in a situation where they might still be with this abusive person, or they've left it. But once you have a child with someone who's like that, it's really hard to get away from them, because now they're the parent, they're the other parent of your child. And then you have to navigate all of that. So all of you who are trapped in that kind of situation, my heart goes out to you, because you just constantly have to see that abusive person and deal with them throughout time. And so, a question I have for you is, how do you create that radical change? Because, you created that change, you decide like, okay, I'm ready, my life is moving forward. You created that radical change for yourself. I know for me, I was ready. I did a bunch of work on myself. I knew I was ready to find a healthy relationship, and when I was ready to have a child and things like that. How do you create that major shift, that radical change for yourself in your life, or for others to do that as well?
Yeah, for me, it was quite a long journey. It started when I was about 26, I guess. That's when I hopped into therapy, maybe 27, and just started with therapy. Like I said, started with therapy, counseling, and I was kind of forced into it, actually. It wasn't that I was opposed to it. It was that something came to a headway in my relationship, and there was an ultimatum given. And so, we hopped into therapy, and there was 4 years of that. And also, that's when I began my yoga journey. That's when I learned about, different kinds of breathing that help with your nervous system. I started to learn, more about the brain and trauma at that point in time. Just, really trying to understand myself and where I was coming from. Learned a lot about nutrition and how, that could help my brain and my body to be able to be more calm, to be more peaceful. And that was the first time that I decided to travel too. So I, just not arbitrarily, I wanted to teach overseas for a really long time, and, got married, and my partner didn't want to. So I honored that. And then I had this opportunity to go and teach for a short time over in China. And so I jumped into it and did it. And while I was traveling over there, and this is an important part in trauma too, right? Like sometimes you disassociate, right? Like you feel like, and at least I felt like I was this something up here watching this person down here walk around and do the things and live the life, but it wasn't me. Mm-hmm. And so I was literally biking around a lake in China, and I felt myself come together. Mm-hmm. Like it was like my spirit and my body like came together in that moment. And it still gives me chills when I think about it, because it was like a physical, like I could feel it happening. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I'm me, like this is me, and I had spent at that point in time 3 months by myself in a foreign country, knowing no one when I got there, trying to make friends, going through all the things, finding my way around, just being me, like mm-hmm. getting back to me. So those kinds of experiences, they gave me like the best start in being able to do that work and get back to myself. And like I said, it's not done. I mean, even just the other day, I uncovered something that I was like, holy cow, like, really? I thought I was done with this part. Nope. You keep digging, and you get to keep digging, and you get to keep learning, and more things happen and more things come up, and life, those pain points kind of poke you. It's your way of the universe's way of saying, hey, pay attention. And at the same time, like, we can pay attention before the pain too. It's okay.
And I love that you did all that traveling, because I think what? Who's this guy? Oh my gosh, Steve! Hi, we were missing you. Where are you? Are you at the deli? Like, are you getting food? What are you doing over there?
Hi, Stephanie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Marie. Thank you. I apologize for being late. I have an emergency. I actually have to fly out. I'm actually at an airport.
Oh.
So I'm at JFK, but I wanted to make sure I popped in here and said hi. And Marie, I know that you do such great work, and I know I'm coming in here at the last possible moment. But thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I hope everything is okay.
Yes. So, Steph, I guess just take the lead, and I'll kind of chime in here.
Well, it's funny because I started this whole thing saying that you and I, in our healthy relationship, that I know you. So knowing Steve knows, or like, if you know Steve, know and love Steve, you know that Steve is always going somewhere, doing something to help others. So the fact that he was like, I can't make it, I got something going on, I was like, all right, that's Steve. He's out saving the world doing something. So hopefully it's not a major, everything's okay. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But so I apologize for breaking up the vibe here. But Maria, I was taken back by your story. I mean, you had to make new friends and everything. Was that hard for you to make those new friends and to kind of start again, or to kind of recreate what your life was at that moment?
Yeah, it actually, I mean, it was really difficult actually. Coming into, I wanted it, right? I wanted this experience. And then I got there, and it was one of the loneliest times in my life at the very beginning. And I literally had to say to myself, okay, you have to get out of this room and you have to go, and you have to initiate something with someone to go out and do something, because you did not come halfway across the world to sit in a room. And so I had this conversation with myself out loud, like it was an out loud kind of a thing. And so, just reaching out to people that were around me. There was a couple that was there from Germany, and they were an older couple. And I started hanging out with them, and, we went and we did all kinds of cool things. It was the Olympics were in China that year. So we went downtown at one point in time together, and the torch runner was going through downtown. And so we got to see that together, and we would go out to eat together. I got the courage to hop on the subway by myself all the time, and go out in the city and just explore different places to eat, because I love food. I would look up on food blogs and different websites and things, and find cool places to go, and would find my way, even though everyone was speaking Mandarin around me. People were more than happy to help if I stopped to ask them in my broken Mandarin and their broken English, and between all of us we were able to figure something out. And so it taught me something about myself, very deep. And I firmly believe that's why I was able to come back into myself at that point in time. It's because I tapped into something that I didn't know that I actually had.
I call that my awakening. And I think that sounds like it's something similar to you, is that the awakening, it's like all of a sudden the colors are brighter, the sounds are more crisp, and the smells are better. Like, everything is just different. And like you said, I felt like I'd been walking around with a veil over my face, and all of a sudden that veil was lifted, and there was a whole new world that I just wasn't experiencing because I was stuck in that survival mode. So one of the things that I actually, for me, I traveled cross country. And so, and I did that by myself. So there's something, and I have clients do that all the time now. That's like one of the things we want them to do is like, okay, now go travel all by yourself. Go see how free, like how scary it can be, but how freeing it is to have the responsibility for yourself. You don't have to have a conversation with anybody else about what you're doing. Just, I want to go on a subway today. I want to go check out a restaurant. If you just go do the things. And I love that you were able to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it goes back to that concept too, like of that radical responsibility, right? Like I could have said, my ex-partner didn't want to travel, and so that's what held me back. And I could be 80 years old saying that I didn't do that, and I could be blaming him for it. And at the same time, like I knew that I had a choice. And I just said, this is what I'm doing. And, was able to help that to happen by putting that out there in the universe. And it's the same in our relationships. It's really scary to be in a relationship where you're not supported, where you're not cared for, and where you're not loved. And at the same time, that radical responsibility, that unpopular opinion is that you have control over that. You might not have control over what that other person does to you, but you have control over what you allow that other person to you. And, really being able to see what is happening and know that it's not right, whether it's for you or it's for your child. Just knowing that it's not something that is supposed to be happening, and making that decision, scary or not, to take that step forward, to do something to get yourself out of that situation. And it can be very difficult, especially if you've grown up in a cycle of abuse, because that's all that you know. And so I'm not blaming the victim in this. I'm like creating a channel of empowerment in saying, you have the capability to do this. It's within you. You get to like search and listen inside of you and find, because the abuse and everything that's going on around you is so loud and it's so present, and that's what we focus on, that we're unable to truly listen to our bodies and tap back into our bodies to understand where our true voice is, to help us out of that situation. And so that's why I appreciate human design as a tool as well, for that, to be able to help you to notice you, to get back to you, the awareness of you, so that way you can step into that radical responsibility, that full responsibility of, I got myself into this, and it's not a great situation, and I can get out.
And this is Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro, our co-host here. That's Marie Adele. And there we go. Our only time together doing a show, and we've been doing this thing virtually for a little bit of time now. But there was one picture you sent over, Marie, with you had your arm up in the air, like making like, there you go. That kind of implies that you got this, and it's inspiring to others just to see that pose. What do you make of that picture of yourself?
Yeah, it's in the coaching program that I'm in, my coach, she's always saying, get out there and do all the wonderful things, right? And be a Wonder Woman. And so it's an empowerment pose, right? Like when I'm feeling like I might not be able to do something, it's a tool that you can use, right? Like you can get into like a superhero's pose, or you can throw your hands up in the air, or just something that is a body motion, using your body to be able to tap into those neural pathways and rewrite those neural pathways in your brain. And so when you go like this, you can't help but feel empowered and strong.
So my Batman shirt is good.
There we go.
There we go, Steve. There we go. Steve just wanted an excuse to show off his gun.
But Marie, you inspire so many, and I think there's a fine line between empowerment and enablement, right? So
yes.
Can you share a little bit how you balance that line and how you can inspire others through empowerment but also the work that you do from during this pandemic and beyond.
Yeah, so empowerment is actually, it's that idea of that parable of, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, give a man or teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime, right? And so in my coaching program, I'm not here to get people to come back over and over and over again for years and years with me, right? I was in therapy for 4 years. I love my clients, and at the same time, I don't want to see my clients for 4 years. If I see them in 4 years, I want to see them living their best life. I don't want to see them as a client, right? So being able to help them to, like, I lend them my tools so that way they are able to borrow them, and then they're able to forge their own set of tools out of those tools to be able to utilize them the way that they need to in their life. And that to me is empowerment. So that enabling is that saying, oh, you need me. And that's a toxic relationship, right? Like, you need me. You can't do this without me. Oh, you need to keep coming back to me. Oh, we'll do this, kind of a thing. So I think, to really be of service to our clients, we get to help them with those tools and then wish them well and let them go and thrive in their life, knowing that they have all the tools inside of them already. We're already perfect, whole, and complete, right?
Mm-hmm. How could someone learn more about human design in order to help them achieve those goals?
Yeah, so I would love for people to contact me. My information is all on the program here. And again, there's a couple of different kinds of human design. Like, you can have a reading done, is what it's called. So someone will read your chart for you. You can go on specific websites. You can print out like an 18-page, form or whatever. Sometimes people go through it with you in like 2 to 3 hours. They'll sit there and they'll give you like all this information. And to me, that's a disservice as well. So what I do is I have like a 3-session package. I, have the client come, we work together in the first session. I learn about them, tell them a few elements of their design. And as I gather their story, then I know what to do in the next 2 sessions. So we meet over 3 weeks' time. I give homework in between so that way they can truly start to embody their design work and be able to utilize that to help them in whatever manner that they're seeking, whether it's to, understand themselves at a deeper level, which is always what they walk away from it with, right? Or, to help them in business, to help them in a specific relationship that they have, to help them to make decisions in a more easy way so that they're not wasting so much energy, second, third, fourth guessing themselves, being able to make an offer for their, like, a program that they have, because sometimes when we get into business, we aren't able to price ourselves properly because of our own self-worth. And so in your design work, there's room in there to be able to show like where that's happening and how to be more aware of it and how to move through that more gracefully. So I would love, to have people reach out to me at any of the social media handles, and I would be more than happy to, work with them on their design.
Cool. What was the most impactful thing that you learned about yourself from going through human design as you learned more about it and obviously got more interested in it? What was the most impactful thing you learned?
Yeah, so for my own personal design, it was the way that I use my energy. So I had grown up with this story in my life that I didn't work to my full potential, and that I was kind of lazy, and that I didn't, put myself out there with as much, I don't know, whatever people thought that I was capable of. And, to me, I was just being me, right? But then I felt like I was made to feel like I was wrong for being the way that I was. And so by learning in my design how I actually use my energy, then I was able to like move out of that stigma, overcome that, and say, hey, like, this is how I can use my energy pattern, and this is how I can use it to my benefit. And also knowing that I need times of rest as well. So just building that into my schedule and, really understanding myself that way helped me to rewrite this major story that had been in my body for a very long time that was actually preventing me from moving forward in my business.
I think that when we are able to get out of our own way, suddenly things open up. And I help women with toxic relationships, but what do I really do? I help them make more money. I help them, enjoy their daily living. I help them have better relationships with their friends and family. There's so many other things that come out of learning how to heal from toxic relationships that it's not just about that toxic relationship. I mean, we have clients that are losing weight, and like that's not the goal of my program. But when you suddenly start caring about yourself and realizing who you are, what your needs are, suddenly everything starts fitting together. And you're nodding, so you've seen that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my clients, a prime example, like she came, she had a business, but that wasn't why she came. She came because she wanted to be a better mom. And she felt like her past was impeding her to do that. And so she came to learn the tools that I had around parenting and, thought that she was learning about being a better parent, found out that she came actually to learn how to be kinder to herself and in turn be able to be kinder to her children. And what she ended up with was being able to leave her full-time job because she was able to grow her business to a point to where it took over her, she was able to replace her income from her previous one. So she came with a desire, right? She thought that she may one day maybe be able to leave her job for this other one full time, and then ended up doing it 8 months.
Wow. One final question, Marie. You do so much great work, and obviously your past has created a platform for you to grow from and to inspire and empower others. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Yeah, so on a grander scale than I'm at right now, right? And really being able to utilize all of the tools that I've gained up to this point in time to be able to help other people, and being able to have other people say to other people, hey, have you heard of, like, she really helped me, and create that ripple out and have that effect with other people, whether it's, with my own full coaching program, whether it's as a support coach in a program, because I actually go into other coaching programs and work with the coaches to help them with their clients with human design. So I have it's kind of like a chameleon model, and being able to go in and work with other people in that modality. And also too, like, if anybody knows of someone, right? If they know of someone that is having a hard time, that is in a relationship that, needs some boost, it's 3 sessions. That's what I do. It's 3 sessions to really help you to tap back into your body and really understand yourself at that core level, at that cellular level. And, if you, I'm just out there, right? If you know of somebody that needs help with that, then pass along my information and just say, hey, I think this lady might be able to have something to say that might be able to help you, and help that person to reach out, because sometimes they don't want to listen to the person that's right next to them, but they might listen to someone else.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
That's incredible. Keep up the great work, Marie, and we're so thankful that you took the time to spend some time with us, and I apologize I was late. And one more time, how can people get a hold of you real fast?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, and it's facebook.com/ I think it's Grow You Marie or something like that, or Marie Adele Grow You. It's on there as it pops up. um, and also my Facebook group. It's Innovative Collaborative Conscious Coach Community, the Foreseers, and being able to foresee that future that we desire, that abundance that we desire, right? That's where that grace abundant comes from, being able to give yourself that abundance of grace and also to grow into your life in a way that you view as abundant, right? Because my view, my perspective of abundance might be completely different than yours. And so you get to go out there and utilize those tools in a way that's going to grow you. And on Instagram at Grow You with Marie. And then also I'm on Clubhouse at Maria Dell.
Wow. Well, thank you so very much. You're a wonderful person, and God bless you all your efforts there.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Steve, so glad you were able to make it for a little bit.
Yes. I figured I'd just drop in. I apologize. I knew you had the foundation to this whole show, so I could kind of come in and leave and kind of like that. But I apologize, Stephanie. You do a great job. And she's wonderful. Marie is just a fantastic person. There's so many people out there that are doing great things. It's unbelievable, and you're connected with a lot of them.
I love that we get to do this, for so many reasons. But really the fact that I get to meet such wonderful people. I mean, like I said to Marie when we started, I had never heard of human design before I jumped on a phone call with her. And then I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting because there is David always talks about the neurological parts and, there's all these things that we don't realize are interconnected when it comes to trauma and past experiences and things like that. So to be able to really heal that from a cellular level brings that into the reality of where we are now. I mean, when I work with clients, we look at physical, social, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So we've got those 4 different things, but to really start thinking about it as like the neurological part, that's a really interesting perspective. And I don't know, have you heard of that before, Steve?
No, it's the first time. I was doing some research in preparation to our show today, and it's really inspiring and very, very interesting. And it's very kind of out of the box kind of thinking and kind of work that really is needed. So we'll have to get her back on the show, real time soon. But we're just about out of time. I had this whole Dr. Ruth story, but I'm going to save it till next week. I have all set up for Dr. Ruth. But anyway, Stephanie, thank you so very much. And we'll see each other in a couple of days again.
Yeah, see you soon. And for those of you, come live with us next week as well, because we actually have someone else who will be calling from Bali. So that's going to be an interesting one next week.
Yes.
So definitely watch that as well.
Yes, and we have a great couple of guests lined up. It's going to be a great month of June. So I'm so excited about that. Carmine, great job, buddy. Thank you so much, man. All right, God bless. Take care.